When I first set out to produce a 5-part video series covering the Palitoy Action Force range from 1983 and 1984, I was quite reluctant because at the time I had a far from complete collection of the toys, and my gut told me that the series would take over 18 months to produce, which is a serious commitment for any YouTuber to make. But thanks to luck, passion, some incredible generosity, and the support of all you fantastic toy fans, here we are with the final episode, and I promise you this one's going to be epic. I am now very fortunate to be able to say that I have practically every single Action Force toy from that era, and since the beginning of this journey I always knew the Action Force Z-Force would be the last team we would cover in the series, because quite simply the Z-Force is the largest of the teams, with the most toys to collect, some of which are quite rare, and it's always good to go out with a bang. So in this final episode we'll be covering the Action Force's conventional land army, the Z-Force.
Come with me, toy fans.
When the Star Wars toy line first burst onto the scene in 1978, it was an overwhelming success, and the 3 3/4 inch scale adopted for the action figures quickly became the new industry standard. British toy company Palitoy paid close attention to the changing play patterns of young children, so when sales of their flagship toy line Action Man began falling in 1980, the company decided to shrink Action Man down from the larger 12-inch size to match the scale of Star Wars toys. This new range of products, now branded Action Force, was first released in 1982, and the initial launch featured the 12 best-selling Action Man designs, now produced as 3 3/4 inch scaled action figures with 5 points of articulation. To provide a wider range of products, Palitoy also produced a variety of toy vehicles and a large cardboard playset. The new Action Force range was an instant retail hit, so as Palitoy entered 1983, the company saw an opportunity to diversify the range, and a new storyline, which featured in the Battle Action Force comics, united the range into an ongoing conflict with an enemy team commanded by the evil Baron Ironblood. The Action Force was split into 4 new operational units: Space Force for operations above the Earth's atmosphere, Z-Force the conventional land army, Q-Force for nautical missions, and the Covert Strike Force, the SAS. In this all-new 5-part series we're going to take a detailed look at each of these Action Force teams, discuss the designs of all the different toys in the range, and provide some insight into how the original designers developed these products while working for the legendary British toy company Palitoy. Hello Action Force fans, my name is Tony and welcome to part 5 of this special series. And in this final episode we are very honoured to be collaborating once again with Michael French, host of the excellent YouTube channel Retro Blasting. According to Palitoy's 1983 trade catalogue, the Z-Force are also known as the Heavy Brigade, the heavy punch of the Action Force, and the toy line features a complete range of highly detailed military figures with a wide selection of superb vehicles and accessories to enhance the play value of the product. As depicted in the Battle Action Force comics, the Z-Force infantry represent the best of the best, and these battle-hardened soldiers fight alongside the other Action Force units, most often against Baron Ironblood and his army of Red Shadows.
Baron Ironblood's introduction of the laser exterminator has forced the country to expand its military capacity. Underwater with Q-Force, seen here operating from their floating missile base. In space from this cosmic cruiser. And revealed tonight for the first time, the newly developed Z-Force battle tank. Supporting it on land, the SAS missile system, attack jeep and the Z-Force cannon. More news as it's made from new Action Force.
The Z-Force is the largest of all the Action Force teams, and for the all-new 1983 product range, Palitoy offered up the Z-Force battle tank, the Z-Force Jeep, the attack cannon, and the rapid-fire motorcycle, along with the Z-Force Captain, the Infantryman, the radio operator, the Z-Force Sapper, and as a mail-away exclusive, the Z-Force Commander. The Z-Force Captain's real name is Grant Campbell, codename Skip. And according to his data file, Captain Campbell is a winner all the way and does not accept second best from any of his men. The Z-Force Captain action figure is a repaint of the first series Action Force British paratrooper, who this time around is wearing the trademark Z-Force green and black camouflage uniform with a red beret, and the Z-Force logo is proudly displayed on each shoulder of his combat shirt. Moulded around the figure's waist is a 58 pattern webbing system so Captain Campbell can carry ammunition and spare kit, and the figure is equipped with a rope and grappling hook and armed with an SLR rifle. The Z-Force Captain figure also features a very handsomely sculpted face that looks remarkably similar to the face of Palitoy's 12-inch Action Man figure, upon which it was based. The next figure in the lineup is the Z-Force Infantryman. These dependable soldiers are the backbone of the Action Force, and they won't let you down in a firefight. As with the majority of Z-Force figures, the infantrymen wear a uniform that is adorned with the trademark Z-Force green and black camouflage pattern, with the main difference here being that the infantrymen wear a hooded combat smock instead of a shirt. The Z-Force infantry are all armed with MP5 submachine guns and equipped with backpacks for carrying extra kit whilst on foot patrol. These backpacks also feature some additional straps at the top, which can be used for stowing the MP5 when it's not in use. The final two single-carded figures released in 1983 are the Z-Force Sapper and the Radio Operator. The Sapper is a repaint of the 1982 Commando action figure and is armed with an M60 machine gun and ammo case. This figure features camouflage trousers and a green shirt, with 2 ammo belts worn across the chest, along with 3 bright red hand grenades. But I'm not sure why, because throughout my entire military career I have never come across red painted grenades of any kind. The Z-Force Radio Operator is codenamed Breaker, which I'm sure is a nod to the G.I. Joe communications officer of the same name, and this figure is very similar in style to the Z-Force Captain, with the main differences being that Breaker wears plain green combat pants and a forage cap instead of a beret. This cap is also removable, with his other accessories being a Sten gun and a communications backpack complete with headset. Supporting this formidable unit of ground specialist troops is an array of highly advanced vehicles and artillery. The Jeep is the only Z-Force vehicle that Palitoy designed from the ground up, with all the other vehicles in the range being UK repaints of existing Hasbro G.I. Joe vehicles, and the Jeep is a recolour of the first series AF3 vehicle. The Z-Force Jeep is a simple but quite sturdy toy that can carry up to 4 seated action figures, with another 2 figures being able to hitch a ride on the side rails. The Jeep is equipped with a flip-down windscreen and a removable antenna, and is armed with a red laser cannon. But the Jeep's coolest accessory is the driver action figure, codenamed Wheels. At first glance this figure may just look like another Z-Force infantryman, but the 2 figures are distinguishable by the different coloured ammo pouches worn on their belts. Another very cool feature with the Z-Force Jeep is that it can turn the boat patrol into a roof when conducting operations with the SAS. While the Z-Force Jeep is fast and manoeuvrable, when the team requires a combination of heavy artillery and high-speed capability, they call in Quarrel and the rapid-fire motorcycle. And here to discuss this toy in greater detail is Michael French from Retro Blasting.
Ah, the Ram Cycle, one of the original 1982 G.I. Joe vehicles in that signature army green, complete with a Gatling cannon on the side. I was still way into Star Wars at the time of this vehicle's release, but it felt like every other kid in the neighborhood had it. The cycle was notable for not having handlebars due to the fact that the Joe figures did not yet have a swivel arm, so anyone riding just shoved their forearms under the instrument panel. Even though the Ram Cycle did not come with an action figure and the box art depicted Breaker riding it, I've always associated this vehicle with rock and roll, which may have been due to his frequent use of the motorcycle in the original Marvel comics. And it should be mentioned that Stalker famously drove the Ram Cycle right through the middle of a US military base in the original animated miniseries, with its Vulcan Gatling cannon now conveniently a laser cannon instead. The Ram, or Rapid Fire Motorcycle, shouldn't that be RFM Motorcycle? Whatever. It was a great Joe vehicle option for kids on a budget, with its only weak points being the often lost gray saddlebags and the attachment point for the cannon sidecar, which could snap off over time with excessive use. It wasn't until a few years ago that I learned of the Ram's redeco for the Action Force line, and in fact, the Action Force Rapid Fire Motorcycle with Quarrel was my gateway drug into collecting Palitoy Action Force toys. The colors on the Action Force version pop with the brighter green contrasting against the now black Vulcan cannon and true black saddlebags. In the research, I was surprised to learn that Quarrel is actually Swiss. I'd assumed she was British. Her real name? Hedda Pulver. Learning that the Scarlet figure was not simply repainted, but truly recharacterized into a new person entirely within the mythology, made this figure a must-have for my Vintage Joe collection.
It should also be noted that Quarrel is the only female figure to be released into the line in either 1983 or 1984, and this toy ranked highly among my personal favourite Action Force toys when I was a child. Now we get to the most fearsome weapon in the Z-Force arsenal, the Battle Tank. This motorised tank is a UK recolour of the G.I. Joe Mobat, and comes complete with a repaint of the Hasbro designed driver action figure, who maintains his G.I. Joe codename of Steeler, which is a quite unusual occurrence in the Action Force toy line, with most Hasbro figures being renamed for the UK market. Steeler is armed with a grey, not black, Uzi submachine gun, and wears a red helmet with a grey flip-down visor. Beyond the action figure, the Z-Force Battle Tank was produced with very few accessories, and to complete the toy you simply need to ensure that you have the cover for the battery compartment and the machine gun barrel that attaches to the command turret. The Battle Tank's main gun is retractable, a feature that I believe was included to allow the tank to fit inside the retail packaging. The gun is fixed to the main battle turret, and the barrel can elevate while the battle turret can traverse in either direction. Two D-size batteries power the Battle Tank's motor, which is activated by pushing the command turret either forward or reverse. The Battle Tank can also turn either left or right, by turning the command turret in the direction you want it to go. I never had the Z-Force Battle Tank when I was a child, but I can imagine this would be quite a frustrating toy once you run out of batteries, because there's no way to drive it around manually, it just kind of sits there. When the Z-Force needs artillery support, they call in the attack cannon, which is a UK variant of the G.I. Joe flat cannon. The Z-Force attack cannon is mounted on a tripod base, and is operated by a single Z-Force trooper who is positioned in the rear mounted seat, and the barrel of the cannon can be rotated and elevated simultaneously. Rounding out the 1983 Z-Force line is the Commander action figure. This figure was the Action Force mail-away exclusive for 1983, and children could add the Commander to their forces by collecting 5 medals that were printed on the reverse side of the action figure card backs. The Z-Force Commander is a simple repaint of the first series Action Force Commander figure, which in turn was a scaled down version of the very popular Action Man Talking Commander figure. The Z-Force would prove to be one of the most popular Action Force teams released in 1983, so when Palitoy started developing new toys for 1984, the Z-Force received some very special treatment.
Gentlemen, the world is in terrible peril from this man, Baron Ironblood, an evil genius who is determined to rule the world. These are the creatures he has created to help him. Now you must create your own action force dedicated to the Baron's downfall. Captain Campbell, you will take command of Z-Force, land-based attack troops. Captain Buckingham, the SAS, crack commando squad. Captain McLaren, Q-Force, Subaquatics, and Captain Connors, Space Force. Expect the unexpected. Where will the Baron strike next? Action Force Toys, the battle has just begun.
For the 1984 Z-Force range, Palitoy offered many new products, including the Z-Force Armoured Troop Carrier, the Whirlwind, the Lance, the Dart, and the Shaft, along with the Z-Force Medic and the Minesweeper action figures, and finally the absolutely stunning Z-Force Command Center playset. The Medic and Minesweeper figures were both sold on single figure card backs, however they are much more difficult to find today when compared to the Z-Force figures that were released the previous year. The Minesweeper is codenamed Scout, and this figure is equipped with a mine detector and 3 anti-tank landmines. The Minesweeper also comes with a backpack which is unique to this figure, and features a recess where the mines can be stowed and held in place with a single strap. The Z-Force Medic is codenamed Doc, and is easily identified as a battlefield medic by his white helmet and tunic, which both bear the Red Cross symbol. Doc is equipped with a rescue flare launcher and a medical case that opens up to reveal all his combat first aid equipment, which was represented on a pair of stickers. Both of these figures are nice additions to the Z-Force ranks, and they fulfill roles that are vital to the capability of any frontline combat unit. Another Hasbro designed toy to be adapted for the Z-Force range is the Armoured Troop Carrier, also known as the ATC. Although Palitoy adapted this toy vehicle from the G.I. Joe APC, it is far more than a simple recolour of a Hasbro design, and proves that Palitoy were the masters of kit bash customising, long before it became a subgenre of our toy collecting hobby.
Shortly after acquiring Quarrel and the rapid-fire motorcycle, I happened upon a photo of the Action Force Armored Troop Carrier. Given that the G.I. Joe APC was very likely my second G.I. Joe vehicle ever in childhood, and one of the most useful toys I ever owned for transporting my various figures outside the house, I was intrigued by the Action Force version at first glance. As with the rapid-fire motorcycle, the troop carrier was redone in the brighter green with black accents, and I could instantly see that it came equipped with larger, more aggressive rubber-like tires. But what struck me even more was the enhanced turret. The American APC's turret was an inert cap over the back lid of the vehicle. I used to pop it off and stuff additional figures down into the vehicle and then put the cap back on, so to speak. Palitoy clearly saw the necessity for some improvements. Regardless of it being the most easily lost piece of the ATC, the radio antenna is a very nice added detail, and thankfully quality reproductions are not hard to find. The opening hatch that allows a figure to conduct some combat direction or impromptu reconnaissance from the relative safety of the carrier is a very nice improvement to the design. As to the rocket rack, it's a cool addition that shows Palitoy really wanted to give the ATC some formidable defensive weapons. However, the mounting point is easily broken, and God help anyone who's standing up in the turret if a rocket is accidentally launched. Another nice enhancement is on the rear bumper. Designed to be a carry handle on the original, Palitoy wisely added a tow hook to the back so the ATC could pull artillery pieces like many of the other vehicles in the range. If you're American and a G.I. Joe APC owner, I can practically hear you now. This vehicle is gaudy.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you?
And you're probably still on the fence about which version is better. But let me tell you, the interior of the ATC doesn't just push the envelope. It stamps it and it mails it. Palitoy must have looked at the wholly barren interior of the APC and said, "There's too much lost potential here." The intent of the G.I. Joe APC was simply to be a figure carrier. 28 in total, 18 sitting and 10 standing. But what kid had 28 Joes in 1983? There were only 33 figures at that point anyway, and only 25 of them were good guys. And with Action Force using a mix of 5 POA figures and a few repurposed O-ring Joes in the line, an interior of 16 rear seats would be useless to most Action Force kids. Instead, Palitoy made the rear of the vehicle a true mobile command center and completely redesigned it with surveillance and weapons computer stations, areas for tools and first aid kits, a weapons storage locker, a medical station with a stretcher that pegs in securely to the examination table, foot pegs for 16 figures, and 6 seats, 4 being specifically for the O-ring figures, while the 2 front seats have enough legroom to accommodate either style of figure easily. The ATC pulls every bit of lost potential out of the APC's design and makes it a truly exciting vehicle in the history of Action Force and G.I. Joe. Frankly, I feel robbed that we didn't get this version in the United States because it would have been my favorite G.I. Joe vehicle of all time. It immediately became a holy grail for me to find, and thanks to the immense generosity of Carl Downing and George Aitken, I can say I now have one in my collection.
Alongside larger vehicles such as the ATC, the Z-Force was also afforded a number of smaller accessory sets in 1984. The Z-Force Battle Gear set was sold on a card back, similar to the way the action figures were sold, and the set includes many common Z-Force weapons and accessories, although this time around they have been moulded in green plastic. Where the Battle Gear set was sold on a blister card, the Z-Force were also issued with 3 remote-controlled weapons, which were sold in small boxes, and these are all adapted from the Hasbro-designed G.I. Joe pack rats. These 3 weapon systems include a flamethrower, codenamed Shaft, a machine gun, codenamed Lance, and a missile launcher, codenamed Dart. All 3 of these accessories are quite fragile and feature several unique parts, making them difficult to find complete today, especially the small handheld devices that a child could use to pretend that the Z-Force control these weapons by remote. A slightly larger accessory issued to the Z-Force in 1984 is the Whirlwind. This heavy weapon features twin-mounted Gatling guns, and the Whirlwind is operated by a single Z-Force trooper. The Whirlwind is trailer mounted and can be towed into battle behind the ATC, and once it reaches its destination, the wheels fold down to establish a more secure firing position. The gun base swivels and the barrels elevate in unison, and the Whirlwind also features two panels, which can be removed to reveal the weapon's ammo loading ports. When combined with the attack cannon, the shaft, the lance and the dart, the Z-Force are able to establish a formidable fire support base, and one that Baron Ironblood and the Red Shadows would definitely think twice about attacking head-on. Before we talk about the Z-Force Command Center playset, we need to discuss the toy that got away. Towards the end of 1982, Palitoy's chief designer Bob Brechin came up with the idea for the Action Force Mobile Command Center, with this sketch being drawn by a young graduate designer named Max. These never-before-seen images show the prototype concept for the Mobile Command Center, which was based on the G.I. Joe Adventure Team Big Trapper vehicle. Bob envisioned a large vehicle where children could use lots of action figures, and also use the toy as a storage container. The concept was not used in 1982, and when the design team was developing ideas for the new Action Force teams for 1983, Bob tried to use the concept again, this time as the Z-Force Mobile Command Center. However, Palitoy's marketing department made a deal with Hasbro to borrow their tooling for the G.I. Joe APC, Mobat and many other vehicles, and the Mobile Command Center never came to be. Now we get to the final toy that Palitoy ever released for the Z-Force, and this playset sat atop my Holy Grail wants list for a very long time, before I finally acquired one earlier this year. The Z-Force Command Center is a repaint of the G.I. Joe Headquarters Command Center playset that was first sold in the United States in 1983. For the British release of this toy, Palitoy painted the structure in the trademark Z-Force green and black camouflage pattern, and it should be noted that there are two variations of this playset, one with a crisp camouflage pattern and one with a fuzzy camouflage design. Before we discuss the finer details of this playset, let me first point out the other differences between the Z-Force Command Center and its G.I. Joe counterpart. Firstly, most of the smaller accessory attachments for the Z-Force version of this playset have been manufactured in red plastic, instead of the grey plastic used for the G.I. Joe Headquarters accessories. And this was a conscious decision made by Palitoy to give the Command Center the same design aesthetic as the rest of the Z-Force toy line. Secondly, and more significantly, the Z-Force Command Center was sold with two action figures included, one of which is a repaint of the G.I. Joe Gung-Ho figure, renamed Gaucho, and the other is a repaint of the popular Stalker action figure, which was renamed as Jammer. These two figures are extremely difficult to find today and rank among the rarest Action Force figures ever released. Jammer is armed with a submachine gun and wears a camouflaged outfit with the Z-Force logo worn on the centre of his chest. And this figure represents the Z-Force communications engineer, who can often be found stationed at the Command Center's control console. Gaucho, on the other hand, comes without any accessories, and this particular figure was very kindly donated to the channel by Alex Leslie. However, when Alex sent us Gaucho, he wasn't in the greatest of condition, so I have to sincerely thank my good friend Joseph for his masterful restoration of this vintage action figure. In the Action Force storyline, Gaucho is a former circus strongman and is the strongest soldier in the Z-Force. He is also a brilliant mechanic and can often be found repairing vehicles in the motor pool area. The Z-Force Command Center is stacked to the brim with exciting play features, so let's take a closer look at this incredible playset. The aforementioned motor pool area features a mechanic's lift, so that Gaucho can work on the underbelly of the Z-Force Jeep. This is also the most cleverly designed area of the playset, because Hasbro wisely incorporated enough features to enable a variety of different vehicles to integrate with the playset. Most people know that the Vamp Jeep can be parked here, and that the laser cannons can be pointed through the armaments, but what a lot of people don't know is that there are recesses on the mechanic's ramp to accommodate the Polar Battle Bear, a toy that never made it into the Action Force lineup, as well as posts that are designed to accommodate the G.I. Joe Heavy Artillery Laser. But unless the Z-Force capture an enemy team laser exterminator, these features are useless. The Whirlwind also fits seamlessly in this firing position, as does the attack cannon. The compatibility between this area of the playset and the other vehicles available in the line is very well thought out. But considering that not all the G.I. Joe vehicles were brought into the Action Force line, and that some of them were issued to different teams, you could say that Palitoy missed a bit of a trick here. And speaking of integration, this is also applicable to the Heavy Equipment Supply Depot, where the Z-Force battle tank can roll up the ramp and park in a position where the main gun can protrude through the armoured wall. Both the motor pool area and the heavy equipment supply depot feature weapons racks, where the Z-Force troops can store their small arms. The front of the playset features the double Devastator cannon, which is operated by a single Z-Force trooper, and scattered along the command centre's armoured walls are a variety of weapons, cameras and searchlights. The Z-Force command centre also features a helicopter landing pad, but since the Z-Force have no aircraft to speak of, the airframe most often seen landing here is the SAS Hawk. A weapons storage unit is located at the rear of the command centre and is used for stowing spare Z-Force equipment, while the control console features flip-up computer screens and a pair of matching chairs. Finally, in the heart of the command centre is the prison, where the Action Force can hold captured enemy team personnel. The Z-Force command centre is the largest toy ever produced for the Palitoy Action Force toy line, and it is a sight to behold when you have it in hand. When I finally received this playset earlier in the year, I was surprised by the sheer size and weight of this toy, as well as its immense playability, but what struck me the most was its overall appearance. This toy is simply gorgeous. Despite the massive popularity of the Action Force toy line and its phenomenal retail success, the General Mills Toy Group, who owned the Palitoy company at the time, were pursuing a global branding model, and they made the very sad decision to close the Palitoy design department in late 1984. So in 1985, and with no new Palitoy design product, Action Force basically became a rebranded G.I. Joe toy line. And even though a few select Z-Force toys were featured in 1985, the days of the Z-Force fighting against the Baron and his army of Red Shadows were lost to history. While Palitoy may not have created characters that are as memorable or iconic as the ones that sprang from the pages of the original G.I. Joe comic, they sure did know how to market the brand effectively, and the Z-Force, with their green and black camouflage and red accents, are instantly recognisable. And their striking camouflage uniformity makes the complete set an absolute joy to behold. Some collectors also state that Action Force are inferior to G.I. Joe due to their limited articulation. But they rarely say the same thing when comparing G.I. Joe to Star Wars, and in my personal opinion, I feel that the Action Force toy line stands apart from comparison with these other brands, since the range was gifted the benefit of both worlds. Some of the figures feature the added articulation that was afforded to the G.I. Joe brand, while the 5-point articulation construction of the other figures enables superior sculpting that isn't interrupted by ball joints or rivets. From 1982 to 1984, Palitoy's Action Force toy line represented a zeitgeist moment in the memories of countless British children. And before I wax poetic about this marvellous toy line, well, any more than I have already, let me quickly touch on a couple of toys that were missing from earlier episodes of the series. Firstly, we have Red Jackal, the infamous repaint of the Destro action figure, which I did not own when I filmed part 1 of this series, but I am now very pleased to have him command the Hyena vehicle that I restored, which is just one of the toys that have been very kindly donated to the channel by George Aitken, a man whose generosity knows no bounds, and a man who is also responsible for inspiring me to produce this Action Force video series, after he sent the channel an incredible gift box back in November of 2019. I've got to take a moment here. Alright, can you see that? That is a bag of Action Force Z-Force soldiers. Let's get these guys out. Secondly, we need to talk about the Red Shadows escape armour, a toy that I said I wasn't interested in when I made the enemy team video, but now that I own a minty example, I am sincerely grateful to Gary Atkinson for selling me this toy at such a decent price. Wow, this has been a long video, but I must say that the conclusion of this video series is a very bittersweet moment for me. I have thoroughly enjoyed collecting this quintessentially British toy line, but more importantly than that, I have taken great pleasure in producing this video series for all of you to enjoy. And if I have turned just one of you into an Action Force toy collector, then my work here is done. Palitoy's Action Force toy line represents the best of British, an all-encompassing range that fulfilled every possible childhood dream and thrilled us with exciting playtime adventures. And it is testament to the magnificent skills of toy designers such as Bob Brechin, Brian Turner and many others that we are still talking about these toys to this very day. I would like to sincerely thank my co-presenter Michael French and the Retroblasting team for their contribution to this video, and we really hope you enjoyed it because we had a lot of fun making this one. And if you missed our other Action Force video entries, I encourage you to check out the playlist by clicking right here. Or to check out our video where we talk about the development of the magnificent Robo-Skull toy, you can click right here. I'm Tony from Analog Toys, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.